At the age of 25, I signed a salary package for over $200,000 a year in an industry that I didn't know anyone, in a world that I didn't know anyone. My family are not from mining. I don't have any friends from mining. I worked with one person down south, and this is where I ended up. So I'm going to tell you the story of how I got there and where I started. So I graduated year 12 in 2014, and then I decided to go off and actually study my bachelor's degree in osteopathy. So I started studying that at RMIT in Bundoora in Victoria. And I did about a month of it, and I was like, what are you doing? Like, I absolutely hate this. I don't want to do this. So I dropped out and decided I was going to take a gap year. I then was just working at McDonald's. I'd worked there previously when I was in high school, and I was just working there for a while. And then I decided I wanted to be an electrician. When I started in that, I was like, well, you need to go do your Cert 2 to get into a job. It was pretty competitive down there at the time. So I started my certificate 2 in electrotechnology, and the intent was then to move into apprenticeship after that. I studied that full time, so I was still working at McDonald's, and then I was basically going to this course like a full-time job or like a uni degree. I studied that with some people that I still am friends with today, which is really cool. And when I left, I was trying to get an apprenticeship, and I couldn't for the life of me get one. I don't know what was going on. I don't know if I just wasn't employable, or if it was a woman thing, or whether it's just a saturated industry at the time, and I was mature age, which made it hard. I then decided, because I couldn't get an apprenticeship, that I was going to go to uni. So I applied for a bachelor's degree in agricultural science at Melbourne Uni. I had already missed cutoff, so I had to pay a late fee, which was like $200. My friend had just got home from Europe, and she's like, I'm going to go to uni and study ag science. Do you want to go? And I was just like, yeah, okay. I really honestly cannot even remember giving it a shred of thought. I was just like, yeah, okay, all good. And I applied and I got in. So then her and I started our degree together. I started my first year, and in my first year, I was still working at McDonald's. I was doing that. I was working like the early morning shift. So I was starting work at like 3 o'clock in the morning. I was doing kitchen setup, and then I was going to work. Then I was going to uni straight after that, and I'd study throughout the day. I then, just before I started uni, my dad got diagnosed with prostate cancer, and he'd already been quite unwell with MS at the time. So I was used to having a sick father, but he got diagnosed with cancer before I started uni, and then I proceeded to do my entire first year of uni. I proceeded to do my entire first year of uni with my dad, who was unwell. Towards the end of the year, he started to get really sick, and then I was going to one of my exams. It was like the following day, and Mum called me and told me Dad was in hospital. So I was like, oh, he was at Peter Mac in Melbourne. So it was across the road from my university. So I was like, I'll go and do my studies there, and then I'll go to my exams. I then sat my first 2 exams, and then between my second and my third exam, my dad actually passed away. And I was like, you just need to keep going to your exams. I don't know what it was. I didn't want to have to do resits. I just wanted to get it done. So 2 days after my dad died, I sat my next exam, and then another one the following day after that. I passed my first year of uni, which was really good. I was extremely fortunate to do that. But McDonald's, my workplace, handled it really, really poorly. The owner of the business was an absolute monster. I called in and said, I'm going to take the week off. My dad's sick. She rostered me every day. Then she wrote me up, and then I resigned. And then she said that I abandoned my employment, which was extremely disappointing, but that was many moons ago now. And so I got a job in a pharmaceutical factory on my holidays, because I was then on holidays, and I was working full time in this pharmaceutical warehouse. I was just packing boxes. It was good money. I was like $29 an hour, which at that age when I was at uni, it was a great deal. So I was doing that, and when I came back into my second year of uni, I was like, I can't keep doing this. So I spoke to them and said, can I do only a certain amount of days? And they were like, no, you're either full-time day shift or you're not here. So I was like, would you take me on as night shift then? I work night shift with you and I go to uni during the day. And they were like, yeah, sure. So I moved over to night shift. I worked full-time night shift in a pharmaceutical warehouse. I do have a lot of friends from that job now, and I learned a lot about the real world when I worked there. That was a bloody hard job. And then I was training at the gym at the time, and the gym had advertised a night shift receptionist, or like customer service officer. And I was like, I can do this. So I applied, and we lived in a pretty rough town, and I was 21 at the time. I was this young girl, and they bloody gave me the job, which I'm rapt for. It was the best thing ever. And I worked 2 years, so I did the rest of my degree working full-time night shift in a gym. So I would go to work from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. I would then go to uni I'd sleep for a couple of hours, go to uni for the day, and then sleep for a couple more. I also was bodybuilding at the time, and I was playing soccer for Melbourne Knights in Melbourne as well, which was pretty bloody cool. And then I finished my degree and I left the gym. I went overseas for a little bit, had a bit of fun, and then for the life of me, I could not get a job. Like, I applied for grad program after grad program after grad program. I could not get in. I was applying for anything and everything. I finally got offered a job in WA, and it was like a project officer role. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to go and I'm going to do that. And so I booted across to WA, moved all my stuff, moved my whole life. And the job was like absolutely just not what I thought it was going to be. It wasn't the life that I thought I was living. It wasn't the job that I thought that I was doing. And I, being very young and naive, I was like, oh, I can't do this. And I backed out and I went home. I only spent a few months there. And then I moved home and just accepted a role as a customer service representative for an agricultural company. So I was earning like $55,000 a year. It was the people I worked with were great, but it was very uninspiring work. And I was just like, what am I doing with my life? So by the time I was like 23, I was earning 55 grand a year. I had my uni degree behind me, but that was pretty much it. I had demonstrated that I had work ethic, but I hadn't actually gotten anywhere. I felt like I'd gotten anywhere. And then out of the blue one day, I got a phone call from this company and they were like, are you interested in doing a regional business manager role, which is like a commercial role where you're dealing with agricultural like businesses. It's based out of Cairns. It's going to be, I think if from memory, it was like 120 grand, which was like, I couldn't even believe it. And it was a company car and I was like, yes, I want to do this job. Yes, give me this job. And so we went through the process and then COVID came and they were like, we're not going to move someone from Victoria to Queensland. Sorry, like it's just fallen through. And I was like, how am I supposed to go back to my job after potentially having this? And I was absolutely devastated. And then this company passed on my information to another site in Victoria that was moving fertilizer, like a fertilizer distribution facility. And they contacted the manager there and was like, hey, we've got this girl. We couldn't move her to Cairns, but we think she might be a good fit for you. It is operations. It's not agriculture, but it's like in the agricultural industry. Would you be interested in her? And he was like, yeah, bloody oath, I'll be interested in her. And so he got me in. I had nothing, like no reason to believe I could lead this team of like 60-year-old men and do this job with no formal experience. And he was just like, yeah, she'll be good at it. And if I've backed myself on anything in my life, I was good at it. I really liked that job. It was the best couple of years of my life, honestly. And I took about $85,000 salary there. I love my job. It was in Geelong. I moved there. I made new friends. I started a new life. And that's where it all started looking up for me. And I was like, I want to do more than this. I want to change the world. So I applied for my MBA at Melbourne Business School at 23 and I bloody got in, which I couldn't believe it. So then I started studying my MBA at 24 years old and was doing this job. I was doing a really good job. And that's when I got the call from Central Queensland saying, we've got a role up here for you. We've seen some of your work. We think you're a good fit. Come up and move into the mining industry. And that's when I had a package in front of me of over $200,000. There was a house in there for me as well. And it was a promotion for me. And it just felt like I spent all this time just like coasting along, doing all this pre-work, getting myself organized so that one day it would all catapult. And that's exactly what happened. It just went like this, and then it went like this, and then it just went straight up through the roof. And that's how I got here. It's a story where, you know, I've seen a bit. I haven't seen more than some people have, but I've seen a bit. I've worked hard. I have worked so many hours in my 20s. I can't even count. But I also live what I believe to be a really beautiful life now with so much opportunity. And I honestly don't know where I'm going to end up anymore because I'm just so willing to say yes. I'm just so willing to give anything a go, and nothing feels as hard as what it used to be. So that's how I started off not knowing what I wanted to do with my life and moving up into what I'm doing now. And I also got my PT course as well. So I'm a qualified personal trainer, for the record, in all of that mix. So yeah, that's my story on how I got here. My first long form video. See how it goes. Mwah.